My beloved friends, I invite you to gather close and open your hearts. I want you to imagine a moment in your life when you felt a subtle stirring deep within, a gentle but persistent nudge that spoke not to your fears, but to your possibilities. I remember such a moment in my own journey, standing before an open door of opportunity, uncertain if I could walk through. I questioned my worth. I wondered if my gifts were enough. But something inside me, a still, small voice, refused to let me turn away. It whispered, "Step forward." And so I did. Now, I stand here before you, convinced that those quiet inner promptings are sacred signals meant to guide us toward renewal, reminding us that our worth was never in question, only our awareness of it. How many of us walk through life carrying an old burden of doubt? Perhaps you've struggled to see your own value, or you've told yourself that your voice doesn't matter. Maybe you have felt overlooked or unworthy when you compare yourself to others. We live in a world that often measures our value by external standards, achievements, status, or how many people approve of us. But tonight, we'll turn that perspective upside down. We'll explore the idea that our real worth lies in who we are in the deepest sense, the person divinely fashioned and purposed. And we'll talk about those faithful nudges, those gentle calls within our consciousness that encourage us to reclaim that worth. We're here to rediscover that each life is endowed with a precious, inborn significance. Even when you've been knocked down by disappointment, heartbreak, or rejection, there is something in you that cannot be destroyed. Perhaps you think you've strayed too far, that your mistakes define you. But let me remind you, there is no failure so great, no error so irreversible, the Almighty, that it can annul your inherent dignity as a creation with a meaningful destiny. You are here in this moment for a reason. What if this night marked the beginning of your new perception, where you decide that you are worthy of fresh starts and better outcomes, worthy of that inner voice that keeps inviting you forward? When we speak of regenerating self-worth, we're talking about breathing fresh life into our sense of who we are. It's like tending a garden that's been left too long under the stormy skies of criticism or discouragement. The soil of our hearts might feel cold and barren, but even the coldest soil holds seeds that long to grow. Tonight, let's shine a little warmth, a little hope on those seeds. Let's remember that we each carry a measure of greatness, no matter how deeply it's been buried by life's trials. It's not always easy. Pain can cloud our vision. People we trust can fail us. Our confidence can falter when it feels like every door is closed. But within that difficulty, there is still a guiding presence, a hint, a whisper, an inner stirring that says, this is not the end of your story. Think about that for a moment. If you can recall a time you almost gave up, but something in your spirit pushed you to try once more, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's the faithful nudge of your inner consciousness, the internal compass pointing you back to the truth of your inherent value. Friends, Almighty, perhaps you've spent long enough letting the world tell you what you cannot do, how you fall short. Perhaps you've sat silent when your heart yearned to speak. Maybe you've watched others shine and believed you belonged in the shadows. But tonight, I challenge you to join me in turning your gaze inward, to trust that quiet encouragement stirring inside you, calling you to stand taller, dream bigger, and love more boldly. Together, we'll unravel what it means to live with a revived sense of self-worth and to heed those small voices that so often guide us toward our greatest moments of growth. In the next moments, we'll journey through 3 central insights: how to recognize your inherent worth, even in moments of failure; how to trust those persistent inner nudges when external voices try to drown them out; and how to translate those gentle calls into transformative action for you, your family, your communities, and even your workplace. Let this evening be a catalyst. Let these words spark something in you. A longing to return to your origin, that place where you knew you were formed with care, meant to live abundantly, and empowered to make a difference in ways only you can. The Almighty, I invite you to listen with your whole heart, to set aside your fears, and to dare to believe in the miracle that is you. Let us journey together into deeper understanding. Let us ask the hard questions and find the exhilarating answers. Let us discover that our worth is intact, that the guiding voice of our inner consciousness is always there, if only we have the courage to listen and follow. And let us open ourselves to a grand renewal, a regeneration of the sacred gift we each carry, our boundless worth in the eyes of the divine, and our capacity to become far more than we can currently imagine. My friends, let us begin. You see, when we talk about regenerating self, worth, and trusting those faithful nudges, we're addressing the very substance of your identity. Think for a moment about a time you felt truly alive, deeply connected to who you are and what you're meant to do. That sense of harmony wasn't a fluke. It was a sign pointing to your potential. And that's the realm we'll explore, where your potential and that gentle inward urging join forces to usher you into your fullest self. Now, let us press onward into that place of revelation. I want to share with you 3 key revelations that have guided me in my own life, teachings, and ministry. These are truths that can lift you from the pit of doubt and plant you on the solid ground of confidence and trust. They have the power to touch not only your personal journey, but also your family life, your interactions in the workplace, and your contributions to your broader community. We will see that your worth has never been lost. It only needs a spark, a moment to be revived. And we will learn how to trust those subtle inner callings that might initially appear small but can lead to profound transformation. Let's set out now on this journey together. Stay with me, keep your heart open, and be ready to take that next brave step. Your renewed sense of worth awaits, and the faithful nudge of your consciousness stands by, eager to lead you a place of deeper fulfillment than you've ever known before. My first revelation is this: the Almighty, you must recognize that your worth is not dependent on your past failures or accomplishments, but is rooted in your inherent nature. We are each created with intention, not by accident or random circumstance. From my own experience, I recall a time when I felt the eyes of skepticism upon me. I was young, uncertain, and easily swayed by the judgments of those I respected. When they offered approval, I soared. But when they offered doubt or criticism, I crashed. My sense of self was tethered to the volatile opinions of those around me. Perhaps you've been there. One day you're praised, and you feel invincible. The next day you're criticized, and you wonder if you have any value at all. It took a pivotal moment for me to awaken. A mentor once pulled me aside and said, "Jonathan, who told you that your worth can be bought or sold by the affirmation or rejection of others?" The Almighty. It was given to you before you even knew how to breathe. That statement shook me to my core. I realized I'd spent years letting people's reactions define my identity. What about you? The Almighty. Do you ever catch yourself scanning the crowd for that nod of approval, feeling defeated if it doesn't come? If so, let me assure you, your worth transcends human verdicts. No disapproving look or moment of failure can diminish your intrinsic value. But how do we move this from a conceptual truth to a lived reality? The first step is simple yet profound. Acknowledge that you are not the sum total of your achievements and mistakes. You are more. And you must give yourself permission to believe it. I've met countless young people who believe they have to prove their worth by excelling in sports, academics, or social media status. They chase applause, but applause is fleeting. When the cheers stop, their sense of self collapses. I've also seen individuals in business successful on the outside, still wrestling with fears that they are imposters. That one misstep will expose them. The common thread is an identity tied to performance. In our families, this can play out when a parent puts enormous pressure on a child to meet certain expectations, unwittingly teaching that child that love is conditional. Or it appears when siblings compete for recognition, believing that being outshined by another means they aren't valuable. How easily we forget that each individual reflects a unique facet of divine creativity. The question is, how do we break free from this destructive cycle? First, be transparent about your struggle. Share with someone you trust that you've been defining yourself by external measures. Let your vulnerability become a doorway through which healing steps in. Second, implement daily reminders of your inherent worth. It could be a morning reflection. Before I do anything today, I am already worthy. It might sound simple, but these reminders carry significant power over time. Third, practice gratitude for your intrinsic qualities rather than just your external accomplishments. Perhaps you have a compassionate heart, a good sense of humor, or a resilient spirit. Cherish these qualities as gifts that affirm who you are at the core, beyond any trophy or your title you might ever hold. I remember a businessman who once approached me after a talk. He was near tears, saying, "I'm so exhausted by trying to earn respect. I wake up every day thinking I have to outperform myself from the day before. If I fail, I'm worth nothing." I told him that the real victory came not from outdoing himself, but from anchoring himself in the truth that he was already enough. Yes, we can strive for excellence. We can work diligently. But let us do so from a place of security, not desperation. That transition in mindset is life-changing when you realize your value doesn't waver based on your success or failure. You'll find a newfound courage to innovate and risk and grow because you're no longer trying to prove your worth. You're expressing it. Now, let me turn to my second revelation, that gentle, persistent inner voice that calls you forward is more reliable than you realize. It takes faith to trust these subtle nudges. Many times we look outside ourselves for signs and confirmations. We chase after other people's advice or wait for the perfect circumstance. But deep within, there's a spark. Call it a divine whisper, your conscience, or the intuitive prompting of your soul, that says, this is the direction. Take this step. It may be a nudge to pursue a new career path that aligns with your passions, or to speak a word of kindness to someone you've been at odds with. It might be the gentle push that leads you to invest time in your personal growth, or to open your heart in forgiveness when bitterness has taken root. People often ask me, "Jonathan, the Almighty, how do I know when it's the faithful nudge of my spirit and not just wishful thinking?" Let me offer a guideline. The faithful nudge usually aligns with truth, love, and growth. It doesn't urge you to harm or degrade. It calls you to uplift and expand. It resonates with your deepest sense of purpose, often urging you to step out of your comfort zone in a way that fosters courage, integrity, and compassion. It can feel both humbling and uplifting at the same time. Think of a young person deciding whether to go to college or venture into entrepreneurship. She might feel an unshakable pull to create a community project to serve people in a unique way. That pull might scare her because it doesn't follow the conventional path her peers are taking. Yet, something in her heart keeps steering. That's a faithful nudge, inviting her to trust that her purpose might be different than the norm, and that is okay. More than okay, it's essential for her growth. I've also witnessed families torn apart by misunderstandings. Sometimes a mother or father feels a persistent urge to reach out in peace to a child with whom they've had a rift. Fear and pride say, wait for them to come to you first. But the gentle voice within says, take the first step. Offer an olive branch. Obeying such a nudge can heal years of division. In the workplace, I recall a manager who felt a strong inclination to mentor a struggling intern. The data on paper didn't promise any significant return on investment for his time. But his conscience kept prompting him, invest in this person. There's gold in him that no one else sees. He trusted that voice, and with patience and guidance, that intern blossomed. Not only did the intern become a star employee, he later led a new branch of the company to unprecedented success. If we only listen to the loud demands of immediate profit and efficiency, we may miss the hidden potential that an inner prompting can reveal. The challenge is that many of us second guess these inner voices. We rationalize them away. We tell ourselves we're overthinking or that we need more external confirmation. Now, I'm not suggesting we abandon wisdom or counsel, but there's a delicate balance between seeking prudent advice and stifling that unique divine whisper that is meant for you alone. We must cultivate the of stillness, moments in our day where we turn off the noise, set aside our devices, and listen. In that quiet space, the nudge becomes clearer. The more we act on these gentle impulses, the more they will guide us accurately. Start small. If you sense a nudge to offer help, do it. If you feel a nudge to step away from negativity, walk away. Over time, you'll build trust not only in that voice, but in yourself. Let me offer a practical approach. Keep a journal of these nudges. Whenever you feel that inner prompting, write it down. Then note whether you followed it and what happened as a result. You might be surprised at how often those subtle stirrings lead you to unexpected blessings, chances for growth, and even open doors you didn't realize existed. This practice can transform the intangible sense of maybe I should into a concrete testimony of how these faithful nudges guide and protect you. This brings us to the third revelation when you combine the recognition of your inherent worth with a willingness to trust these faithful nudges. The real transformation happens. It's not enough to know you're valuable. You have to live it out. And not enough to hear the inner voice. You must follow it. The fusion of self-worth and spiritual attunement fuels powerful changes in your life and the world around you. Let me share a story from my own ministry. Many years ago, I felt a strong call to speak on a certain subject, one that was considered controversial in some circles. I was torn. On one hand, my heart said, this message needs to be heard. On the other hand, fear whispered, what if people reject you? The Almighty, what if it harms your standing? In that moment, I had to choose between fear and the faithful nudge. I prayed, listened, and ultimately stepped forward with the message. The initial reaction was mixed. Some applauded while others criticized. Yet over time, the message bore fruit I never anticipated. People began sharing their stories of transformation, healing, and renewed faith. Had I not trusted that inner prompting, and had I not remembered that my worth was not tied to popularity, I would have missed the chance to bring hope to many who needed it. This principle applies in business as well. Suppose you feel led to pivot your company toward more socially responsible practices. It might seem risky, especially if there's an initial cost involved. But if the nudge is persistent and aligned with your core values, following it can elevate your company's culture and brand to new heights. Customers and employees alike sense authenticity, and that fosters loyalty and innovation. In family life, imagine you feel a strong sense that it's time to dedicate more unhurried moments with your children or spouse, even if it requires cutting back on certain commitments. Society might tell you to keep pushing for promotions, keep climbing the ladder. Yet, your heart says, I slow down and be present with the people you love. Honoring that nudge can bring priceless rewards, deeper connections, laughter around the dinner table, and memories that will outlast any professional accolade. The transformation we're talking about goes beyond personal spheres, too. When we live from a place of solid self-worth, unshaken by every storm, the Almighty, and we follow those faithful nudges, we become conduits of positive influence in our communities. That might mean starting a local outreach program, joining a mentoring initiative at your place of worship, or simply becoming the colleague who brings empathy and understanding into every conversation. Do not underestimate the ripple effect of one person who believes in their God-given value and obeys that still small voice. It might shift the atmosphere in an entire neighborhood, spark movements, and awaken others to their own worth. You may ask, but what if I fail even after following these nudges? My friends, let me tell you, not every step you take will unfold as you envision. Sometimes trusting an inner prompting will lead you through trials that refine you. But remember, your worth is not hinged to a perfect outcome. The path of faith is about aligning with a higher purpose, not ensuring you never stumble. Even apparent failures can become stepping stones if approached with the right attitude. You might learn lessons that prepare you for even greater doors of opportunity. Look at some of the world's greatest innovators, activists, and leaders. Failure was often part of their journey. What set them apart was their unwavering commitment to a call bigger than themselves, and their willingness to keep going, even when it got tough. Here's something practical as you step out in faith. Develop a supportive environment. Surround yourself with people who also recognize their own worth and listen to their inner voice. Find mentors who have walked a similar path and can offer guidance without undermining your distinct calling. Faith is both personal and communal. We grow stronger when we encourage each other to listen to that divine whisper and to remember that no matter what, our worth remains secure. I recall a young woman who came to me, torn about a philanthropic project she felt inspired to begin. She feared judgment from her peers who considered such pursuits naive or not financially rewarding. She said, "But this idea won't leave me, and I know it can help people." I encouraged her to gather a small group of like-minded individuals who also believed in the cause. They prayed, planned, and took small, deliberate steps. Today, that project has grown into a robust, nonprofit organization impacting countless lives. What if she had silenced that nudge? What if she had decided she wasn't worthy of leading such a venture, or convinced herself the sacrifice wasn't worth it? She would have missed out on her destiny, and the world would have missed out on her contribution. As you move forward in your own journey, expect resistance. Sometimes internal, sometimes external. Your old doubts might resurface, whispering, "Who do you think you are?" Or, "What difference will it make?" Be prepared to respond with the truth. So I know who I am, someone of inherent worth, called for a purpose. I trust the process. Remind yourself that you are not alone on this path. Others have walked it. Others are walking it now. And in a spiritual sense, the Almighty, you have the guiding presence of the divine who gave you your worth and planted those inner nudges in your heart in the first place. If the one who created you deems you worthy, who are you to disagree? I also urge you to cultivate a rhythm of reflection. In the hustle of modern life, we rarely pause. We fill every moment with tasks, entertainment, or obligations. But transformation requires introspection. Carve out moments, whether in the early morning, during a lunch break, or before bed, where you breathe deeply, express gratitude for the day, and ask, what is my heart nudging me to do next? Where am I being led? Then listen. Often the answer won't be a thunderclap from the sky. The Almighty, it will be the gentle certainty or a renewed stirring about something you've been putting off. The answers are there if you patiently and persistently seek them. Another key practice is to celebrate small victories. Don't wait for the huge moment when everything lines up perfectly. If you act on a faithful nudge, even if it's as simple as offering a kind word to a neighbor, take a moment to acknowledge what you did. These acts might seem insignificant, but they form a chain of obedience that leads to bigger doors. Over time, your confidence grows, and you become more sensitive to recognizing and embracing those nudges. In that sense, obedience begets deeper sensitivity, and deeper sensitivity begets greater impact. Let me speak directly to those in times of transition. Maybe you're moving to a new city for a job. Perhaps you're stepping into parenthood. Or you've started a new endeavor that feels like uncharted territory. You may sense both excitement and dread, which is normal. But hold on to this. Transitions often sharpen our ability to hear those faithful nudges because we're out of our comfort zone. Lean into that discomfort. Ask yourself, what is this season trying to teach me? What seeds are being planted right now that I should nurture? When you pair that curiosity with an assurance of your worth, you'll navigate change with grace. You'll discover resources of creativity and resilience you never knew you had. I recall a man who once shared with me how he felt lost after losing his corporate job. He'd built his identity on that position, and when it vanished, he spiraled into a sense of worthlessness. But as he spent more time in reflection, the Almighty, New ideas began to emerge, creative projects he'd always dreamed of pursuing, but never had the time or courage to explore. The repeated nudge told him, now is the time. Although he had no formal training in the arts, he started painting. One day he confided, this is where I feel alive. My job never made me feel this way. Soon, people started noticing his artwork, the Almighty, and an entirely different path opened for him, a path that not only sustained him financially, but also filled him with purpose. That transformation began when he realized that losing a job did not mean losing his worth. It was actually the catalyst for him to heed the nudge that had always been there, just waiting for him to listen. At this juncture, I want each of you to consider, what is the nudge in your life right now? Is it telling you to seek reconciliation with someone you've been estranged from? Is it prompting you to launch a dream you've kept locked away because you felt unworthy of success? Is it urging you to take better care of yourself physically and emotionally because you finally believe you deserve a healthy life? Or maybe it's urging you to speak up, share your story, your knowledge, or your passion, so that others can be inspired. Whatever it is, don't dismiss it. Let your regenerated sense of self-worth propel you to action. If you feel hesitant, remember that fear often paralyzes us by magnifying hypothetical failures. But living with regret over never trying is a far greater burden than stumbling a few times on the road to success and fulfillment. Trust that if the seed of desire is in your heart, aligned with love, truth, and goodness, it was placed there for a reason. Your worth is not a fragile vessel. It's strong enough to carry you through the ups and downs of any journey. And when you walk confidently in that worth, you encourage others to do the same. People begin to notice a light in you, a steadiness, and they think, maybe I can believe in my own worth too. Before we move to our closing reflections, let me summarize the journey we've taken so far. First, we acknowledge that your worth is inherent, not something you must prove or earn through external validation. Second, we learn to trust the faithful nudges of our inner consciousness, those gentle, persistent calls that often lead us to places of greatest growth and impact. Finally, we saw that combining inherent worth and obedience to those nudges leads to transformation, not only for you, but for everyone in your sphere of influence. This is a path that requires courage, introspection, and perseverance, but the rewards are immeasurable. And so, my friends, we come to this moment of wrapping all these insights together in a way that stirs us to move forward. Perhaps you're feeling both inspired and a bit overwhelmed. That's normal. Embrace that sense of wonder and allow it to become your fuel. Let's bring this all home. Let's remind ourselves what has truly happened here. We began with the question, the Almighty, how can we regenerate our self-worth and trust those faithful nudges of our inner consciousness? The Almighty. We recognize that it's not about adding something new to us, but rather uncovering what was always there, like a treasure hidden under layers of fear and self-doubt. Look at the journey we've taken. We started by confronting the challenge of finding ourselves by external measures, society's labels, family expectations, or personal failures. We saw how easily we can become captives to those voices, believing lies that say we must earn our right to be valued, and in doing so, we forfeit the freedom that comes from knowing our worth is already bestowed. Through personal stories, we saw how young people, families, and communities get caught in cycles, performance and comparison, forgetting they have unshakable identity. Then we turned our attention to that still, small voice within, the voice that often speaks when all other noises fade. We recognize the beauty of those nudges that defy logic sometimes, but align so powerfully with love, purpose, and integrity. We saw real-world examples, business people, families, youths, who followed these inner calls and discovered deeper fulfillment. Even if it meant taking risks, we learned that waiting for outward confirmation can sometimes lead to missed opportunities. The Almighty, and that the greatest breakthroughs often come when we step forward guided by the divine whisper in our souls. Lastly, the Almighty, we understood that true regeneration of self-worth is not just a personal matter. It's a communal, even global concern. When you are rooted in a secure sense of worth, you interact differently with family, friends, colleagues, and strangers. Your voice changes. Your posture changes. You become a bearer of hope, a catalyst for unity and growth. People sense that you're not driven by ego or fear. You're motivated by a deep awareness that there is a unique reason for your existence. In a world hungry for authenticity, compassion, and direction, such a life stands out like a beacon. Now, I want to leave you with a call to action, challenge, if you will. In the coming days, pick one area of your life where you felt the nudge but have been too afraid or unsure to act. Maybe it's a creative endeavor. Maybe it's healing a relationship. Maybe it's speaking truth at your workplace or stepping into a volunteer role in your community. Whatever it is, take one tangible step toward it. Have that conversation. Write that proposal. Extend that apology. Plant that seed. The Almighty. And do it not because you're desperately trying to validate yourself, but because you already know your worth and you trust that inner voice saying, go, this is right. Yes, it might feel uncomfortable. Yes, you might face criticism or feel moments of discouragement. The Almighty. But anchor yourself to the truth we've embraced tonight. Your worth is immovable, and the nudges that resonate with love and integrity can be trusted. Imagine the ripple effect if each one of us decided to live this way. Imagine households free from constant comparisons, workplaces where trust and innovation flourish, communities where people look out for each other's potential rather than tearing one another down. This collective shift starts with individual choices, yours and mine. Let me speak a final word of encouragement. No matter where you've been, or how many times you've stumbled, there is a new beginning for you. Every morning, when the sun rises, it testifies that darkness is temporary. In the same way, the places in your life that feel dark or desolate can be revitalized by the dawn of renewed self-worth. You carry seeds of potential, and your inner voice guides you to the right soil in which to plant them. Your life's canvas isn't finished yet, and every faithful nudge is a stroke of color that brings fresh beauty to the picture of your destiny. Hold on to this truth. You do not walk alone. Just as I discovered in my journey, through highs and lows, the Almighty, applause and disapproval, there was a steady presence reminding me that my worth and calling were given by a source far more enduring than any human opinion. That presence is available to you as well. Lean on it, rely on it. Let it be your anchor when doubt tries to pull you under. In that reliance, you'll find a refuge, a steadfast assurance that you are not here by accident. You are here with purpose, and that purpose is both precious and unrepeatable. And so I commission you, each of you, to rise up and live according to what you've heard tonight. Let your heart be strengthened. Let your doubts be silenced by the deeper truths you have embraced. Trust that the seeds planted in these moments of reflection will continue to grow in the days ahead. When you feel that faithful nudge, don't hesitate. Take the step. And if you stumble, remember, it doesn't diminish your worth. It only refines your journey. Each test and trial can be transformed into a testimony of resilience and faith. I leave you with the image of a small candle in a vast darkness. That candle might appear insignificant at first, but it pierces the night with its glow. In the same way, the Almighty, one person who knows their worth and follows that divine voice within, can illuminate corners of society that have been shrouded in despair or apathy. That person can be you. In fact, if you're listening to my voice now, I believe it is you. You have what it takes. You possess the capacity to shine a beam of hope in places only you can reach. So go forth, my dear friends, with your head lifted high, the Almighty, your heart open, and your spirit attentive. May you carry the conviction that your worth is inviolable, that the stirrings of your inner consciousness are reliable, and that your life is a sacred gift meant to be shared. The world needs the best of you, the Almighty, and the best of you emerges when you live in the harmony of these truths. I am honored to have journeyed with you this evening to remind you of who you really are. Masterpiece in motion, guided by a voice that leads you toward your highest good. The Almighty, may blessings and favor accompany you as you step into the next chapter of your life. Confident in your worth, sensitive to your inner call, and eager to bring light into every moment. Go now with courage. Embrace your divine worth. Trust those faithful nudges. And watch as your life unfolds into something far greater than you ever imagined. I believe in you. More importantly, there is a higher grace that has believed in you all along. Step boldly into it and let your light shine for all to see. Thank you, and may you walk onward in victory and peace. You are worthy, you are called, and you are ready. Go. my friends, and make your life a testament to the wonderful truth we've shared tonight. Amen and amen.